Good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, 87CYM. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of radio amateurs that take to the airwaves with fast scan television. We transmit on 70 centimeters. We utilize a crossband repeater located up on Cougar Mountain, and it spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. So with that, I'll take a pause, and if anybody has emergency traffic or wants to make a contact, do so now, and we'll get our net underway immediately. Not hearing anybody wanting to make an emergency contact, so we'll take check-ins at this point. So far, we got KD7QKU Ron, N7KC Lee, and WW7N James checked in to the net. Does anybody else like to check in?
K7HYB, N7QO.
And K7HYB and N7QO, we got you. And again, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, 87CYM. Still taking check-in. So, again, so far we have 87QKU Ron, N7KC Lee, WU7N James, K7HYB Gary, N7QO Jim. Anybody else? Okay, we'll get the net underway. Let's go to KD7QKU Ron. Not getting audio on Ron. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Sorry, I was over on the control frequency. I said good evening to Lee and James and Jim and Gary and Dave. This is KD7QKU. It was kind of interesting this morning. My son had been over by Quincy on Quincy Lake. They'd taken the motorhome over there and gone fishing for a couple days. So I sent him a text this morning. I said, "Are you still at Quincy Lake?" And he said, "No, I'm at the cabin and it's 34 degrees and it's been snowing all morning." So that was in the town of Plain, which is kind of north of Leavenworth, about 20 miles. So anyway, they had snow. I don't know how much they got, but anyway. So with that, let's go over to Port Angeles and see if Lee had any snow.
Okay, I got the timer going here and everything seems to be okay. Yeah, N7KC Lee in Port Angeles. No, it's been pretty nice over here. We had rain off and on, but it was never very hard. And I don't think, I didn't look at the gauge before the net, but earlier it didn't have 2/10 in it. So if we got a 1/4 inch, I'd say we're lucky. And last month was really dry. I think we had 1.5 inches of rain last month, that was it. So we're not getting off to a really good start this year rain-wise. Yeah, good evening to Ron and Dave and Covington, Jim and James and Bellevue and Gary. Gary, I hope you had a good trip. I'd be curious to hear about it. I'm sure we will when you get your turn here. Let's see, did I forget anybody? If I did, excuse me. I'm doing it from memory, and that's a dangerous thing to do. Let's see. Well, I checked into the West Coast net tonight, a CW net. Third speed. It's a third speed, and 10 words a minute. And so that's kind of fun. I listened to Washington State net, but It's pretty ratty code, a lot of it. And then I've been checking into the Columbia Basin net for fun. It's just I got a new antenna, relatively new, and I'm just exploring its capabilities and all that, so it's just a lot of fun to see what I can do with the antenna. Let's see what else happened. We got through our umpteenth burger and brew last night at the Yacht Club. I think it might have been 27 that we've done in a row. So we're old hands at it, and it's pretty almost automated. It goes by the numbers. It's not very hard for us to do now. Oh dear, it does take a day a month though, by the time you add up inventory, buying for it over in Scrim, and then doing it. Well, I'm down to less than 30 seconds, so Dave, you look great on the stream tonight. I'm looking to myself on it. It's very fast. It's very fast. Anyway, I look good, Ron looks good, Dave looks good, and all that. Anyway, that's enough. This is 7KC Lee in Port Angeles, courtesy of EchoLink and 87QKU. Go ahead, Dave.
Thanks for that comment, and yes, your picture's looking good too. It's being transmitted from Ron's place, coming over at 1.2 gigs, and what I'm seeing on the internet is almost pure clarity, so that's good. Let's see if James is out there, WU7N.
I got some exciting color bars up, but I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. But anyway, beautiful day today for most of the morning, and then it got kind of rainy here. Yesterday was the real surprise. My goodness, a little thunder cell come passing through the area, and that was a bit of a surprise. So anyway, I was going to show everyone a website I've found that showed all the physical locations for radios in, guess what, Cougar Mountain and Tiger Mountain. And so on my next pass, I'll dig that out and show that to everyone in case someone's not seen that before. So anyway, that's it for me this round. This is WU7N, and I'm listening on 147.080, as the sign says, trying a new version of a graphics program here today also. Looks like that about fills up the screen with color on the right, and then a red, yellow, and blue down the left side of the screen that still fits in and translates to NTSC. So that's interesting too. So anyway, that's it for me this round. This is James, WU7N. Back to you, Dave.
WU7N, you got a good steady P4.5 image coming out this evening. Let's go to Gary, K7HYB. Hello? Okay. Oh boy. Boy, the picture is not very good tonight on the streaming. My antenna must have turned on me apparently. Whatever. KD7ZYM on the group, K7HYB. Good evening, Paul. And I'm not pleased with my picture tonight. It's not looking good. I can't see anything on all I can see is sync bars on the live side, 1.2 down, and can't see much of anything on the. There's the bug shot. Latency isn't too bad tonight. Anyway, the weather out here is pretty good. Not much rain. About a quarter of an inch in the last 24 hours, according to my weather station. And it's 48 degrees outside with 84% humidity, and the wind is calm. That's all via my cell phone through my weather station here that I put in some time ago. Finally learned how to use it. So anyway, my trip was fun.
coming and going was not fun. I'll get into that on my next go-around. But that was a real hassle. My legs did not hold up at all, and I had to get a wheelchair when we got to before. I wore out before we got on board the ship. I had to get a wheelchair and went through the fast line, fortunately. And getting off the ship, I had to do about the same thing. The lines were horrendous. They're checking in China for their disembark, and their boarding procedures leave a lot to be desired. Generally, the cruise was fun. We had a good time. I didn't spend a whole lot of time to go ashore. I went ashore in about 3 places to the Panama Canal tour, and spent most of my time on the ship doing things there. It was just about all I could do to walk from one end to the other. Let me drop it here. And just for everybody's edification, I can note to myself here that there was a last Wednesday night. I didn't check in, but whoa, what's going on here? Wait a minute. Something went bad there. I don't know what it was, but the streaming was on for a good hour after the end of the net last Wednesday, and I don't quite know what was going on there, but I happened to watch it, and it went on until almost 10 o'clock before it finally shut down. Anyway, back to you, Dave. I'll let somebody else get their turn. I got a couple other things. KD7ZYM in the group, K7HYB.
K7HYB, yes, picture quality is a little downgraded this evening from your side. Probably about a P2. It's got a little bit better towards the end of the transmission. So let's go down south to N7QO. Jim.
N7QO. Thank you, Dave. Well, good evening, Dave, Ron, Lee, Bellevue, Jim, and Gary. Gary, I can see a picture of you on 1.2. It is not real good. I cannot tell that it's you, but I can see a picture there anyway. You definitely look a bit better on the streaming. I might see you a little better than I see me. I see a picture of me on the 1.2, but it looks down a little bit as well. I can't see much of me on the streaming, though. But anyway, glad that you're back, Gary, from your little excursion there. Glad that worked out okay. I was actually gone myself. Wound up doing a trip to Israel for about 2 weeks. But I got back from that and kind of tired. It was a guided tour with our church group, and definitely need a few days to recover from that. They kept us going. Would have been good if I were about 20 years younger. But I guess I want to give you your money's worth, so they keep everyone going quite a bit. Let's see, what can I say? It's not raining here in Covington right now, and I'm showing 50 degrees outside. We had some scattered showers moving through here today, but I'm happy it's warm here, relatively speaking. Sorry about your son there, Ron. Sounds like he's really chilly, but oh well. I think winter is finally over here. We do have reset. We do have some birds that sing around here in the mornings. Let's see, someone ran over a bobcat, or maybe a lynx,
depending upon who you want to listen to, on a street just outside our subdivision. So there aren't quite as many rabbits around here now as there were before. I guess the cat made a happy meal out of at least a couple of those guys. That's about all I can say about that. Wish he could do something about the rats. I have not seen any, but I've heard from some neighbors that there are some around. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
N7QO, this is Dave, KD7ZYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'll pause here for a sec in case somebody else would like to join the net and check in. Hearing none. Again, this is Dave, KD7ZYM. Well, my rain gauge almost filled up to the capacity. Not really, because it's like a 5-inch gauge, but I, in the last 2 days, had 1 inch and an eighth of rain come down. Yesterday afternoon was about 3/4 of an inch, and then another 1/4 of an inch, and then a little more today. It really came down pouring this morning, and then it broke out with some sunshine around noonish, and then opened up and started pouring again around 4 o'clock this afternoon. So that's been really coming down. I got 52 degrees here, not raining now in Lake City, and it's been great to see some images coming across on 1.2 gig this evening. Last Wednesday I had a really poor picture of black and white, and I'd gone out the next day and checked, and my antenna had moved about 20 degrees to the west, and so I was able to get about a 10-foot long stick and tap the antenna after climbing up on top of a ladder about 20 feet, and got the antenna rotated in the same direction as the 1.2 receiving antenna, which seems to be pretty stable at this point. It hasn't been blowing around, and got some pretty good color when I tested that a couple of days ago. It was nice, warm, and sunshiny, so didn't have to worry about slipping on the ladder. And I was kind of worried about the wind that was predicted for today and last night, but it didn't seem to affect it. I went out and checked the antenna position. About 6 o'clock this evening, and it was still in line. So anyway, getting the picture out. So that's what happened there. So that's about all I've got to add. So let's go up to Ron, KD7QKU.
All right, well, thank you, Dave. KD7QKU here. Yeah, your picture tonight is really nice. Real nice picture tonight, Dave. Yeah, 51 degrees, 51.0, and I only had 0.08 of an inch of rain today, and that was most in the morning. So this morning when I get up in the morning, I usually get up about 6:30, I make a cup of coffee, and then the Lyman Hill repeater group starts talking. They start talking about 7:15, and they talk for about 45 minutes usually. And one of the guys that lives over on Whidbey Island by Friday Harbor, he asked the rest of the people if anybody else felt the earthquake, and that none of them had felt the earthquake. So I got out my phone. I have a quake feed on my phone, and sure enough, there's been 3 quakes right at Friday Harbor. There's been about 8 miles deep, and the first one was 2.9, and then they were all 2 point something, but more like 2.1 or whatever. But sure enough, so I came in and turned on the radio and said, yeah, no, I could see it on Quake Feed. I was surprised they hadn't mentioned it on the TV news or anything, but no one seemed to say anything about it. And later I talked to Dave, and he said this is not 3 or better. They don't say much about it. But anyway, so they had a little earthquake in Friday Harbor. So, let's see. And that was quite a happening yesterday down by the, flight museum where all the power lines got all pulled down. Gee, many Christmas. I think they said there was 22 poles that got broke off. So they had some kind of a little microburst or something down there. It was a mess, and one pole and transformer landed on a car, and the people were pinned in it for quite a while. I don't know. I think they've taken them to the hospital, but I don't think they had too serious of an injury. At least I hope not. All right, let's go over to Lee and see what he's up to.
Okay. Well, this is Lee in 7KC in Port Angeles. I saw a picture of that car with the power pole and whatnot on top of it, and those folks were really, really lucky. They were apparently not seriously hurt. Well, there was a sad story from Diamond Point. Now, Ron knows all about Diamond Point because they have a place they stay over there, and he knows where the airport is. So anyway, a fellow from Forks and his family, he was 63 years old. They moved in there last week. A new house, and he was a pilot, so he had a hangar on the little airstrip there at Diamond Point. So he is in his hangar. He's up on a ladder working in his hangar, and he falls off the ladder and was in serious shape. So the helicopter came in and hauled him to Harborview, where he died. So I thought, well, what a story is that? You're looking forward to a new airport and all that sort of stuff, and you're only there a week and you fall off the ladder. So let that be a lesson to all of us to use ladders, for heaven's sake. I think twice every time I go up a ladder, but sometimes you just can't avoid it. I try to be really, really careful. I always tie them off, I tie them off to something, and I put a crowbar into the ground over the bottom rung and whatnot so that it can't move and all that, so I do my best. Anyway. Okay, I don't have much else here. Very interesting thus far. And my picture is, well, it's not what news it was originally. Now, Rob has been talking about the phenomenon where if it starts out in high-quality video, it stays in high-quality video, but once it gets a lot of noise in it, like Gary tonight is not too good, and he's adding a lot of noise to the system, then for some reason, the really snappy video can't seem to recover. So that's kind of been, Rob's working on it. He's been cogitating on that problem, so there'll probably be a solution forthcoming, but it's puzzling that it doesn't recover right away. Okay, now from here in 7KC, we're in Port Angeles, third party via Echolink and Skype. Back to Matt. Good.
Well, thanks, N7KC Lee, and again, thanks to Ron for bringing your picture across on the net this evening. Let's move on down to WU7N, James.
Okay, well that took quite a bit of effort. Not quite sure what's going on there with Echolink. But anyway, this is the site that I wanted to tell you guys about. You see if I'm coming through it all here. Okay, yep. You are correct. Once the streaming falls behind both audio and video, it just can't seem to ever discard blocks and say, hey, forget about it, I'll just pick up where the most recent is. I'm watching the streaming over my left shoulder right now, and it's not doing very well. It seems to be stuck. Anyway, this site that you see on, which I don't know if it's ever going to appear on streaming or not, it's good on my streaming. This world radio map I found interesting. I don't know if you guys are already familiar with it, but you can click, for example, on Seattle, Washington, and it gives you all sorts of radio stations here. Why is this significant to us? Because these are commercial radio stations. I don't know. Let me see if I can expand this a little so you can read it a little better.
Okay, well, that's about as much expansion as I can get out of it, and then it falls off the edge. But the interesting thing is it has the actual physical locations, like Tiger Mountain or Cougar Mountain, and when you click on one of these, you can actually see pictures of the actual site, which I just found fascinating. You can also listen to the radio station. So anyway, I thought that was just really interesting because they've got pictures of Cougar Mountain, including our antennas up there. So next time around, I'll show some photographs that they have, and maybe someone can comment for me on how old some of these antennas are. So anyway, I got something else to show from a launch recently that might be of interest to the crowd. Looks like that's about 2 minutes for me. I didn't start right away. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to net control. This is WW7M. Let's see if I can successfully drop back on link.
WU7N, this is KD7CYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net on the 08 machine. Let's go north to Gary, K7HYB.
KD7ZYM in the group, K7HYB. Yeah, I see myself on the stream, but I've got noise here. Oh dear. Anyway, I can't get turning bones now on my laptop, my tablet screen that comes from the 2-meter handheld that I'm using for voice. And if I could see anything at all on the dive side, I can't see it now. It's usually a ground problem, shielding problem with the cable to the converter, and I have to jiggle it around every once in a while to get it to work. So anyway, yeah, just a kind of a recap on my trip is that as a general rule, it was lots of fun. I did as much as I could do based on my back and my legs and stuff like that, and can't say that I would want to live in any of those countries. Kuala Lumpur was a disaster. I can't believe they let things happen over there. I'll have to fill you in another time when I meet you. I had some pictures. I was kind of hoping I could show them to you today, but Bob got sick and we didn't have the meeting, so that kind of put the kibosh on that. So I took some pictures of the ship so you can see what it looks like. Like I mentioned, I was really kind of surprised that the streaming last Wednesday went on for at least an hour after it was supposed to shut off. I don't know what happened there. Thought maybe somebody could explain that to me. And I have a new addition equipment. I bought a grand streaming device like Bob's got, and I've been trying to set it up, but I haven't been able to get it to work with my tablet. It sees it, but it won't respond to the IP address that it's supposed to default to. So I don't know exactly what's going on. I thought maybe Rob would be on tonight. And he could phone me in, or maybe let me drop it here. I thought maybe Bob might be on tonight, possibly, and I could run the ideas by him, but I'm setting that up, and I got a couple other new things that are going to go on here, but I won't take any more time on this go around. I'll give you some more information on my next chance. Back to you, Dave. KD7ZYM, K7HYB.
K7HYB, this is KD7ZYM. Let's go on down to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO. Well, interesting, Gary. Let's see. Lee, you were talking about someone who fell off a ladder. Wow, that's terrible, especially just moving out there. We had one fellow here in my neighborhood who fell off a ladder and was killed as well, and that was about 20 years ago, actually. And my former employer, I'll tell you what, we've had a couple, maybe a handful of guys every winter in particular that seem to get seriously hurt or killed. Usually it's doing something like installing Christmas lights. So about a decade ago or so, I told my wife I was not about to install outdoor Christmas lights, and so I have not done so. I think she's not happy about that, but anyway, I'm here to talk about it. Jim, World Radio Map. Well, that's pretty cool. I have not seen that. It would be nice if they could have some live feed rather than just a picture. But I guess a picture's good too. Don't know how old the pictures are, though. That's kind of a question. I don't know. KD7ZYM and 7QO.
N7QO, yes. Ladder's not a fun thing. I really dread when I have to get up towards my roof line to tap an antenna to get the 70-centimeter antenna lined up for transmitting. So I hear you all there. So anyway, that happened successfully this week, and got a fairly decent picture coming out of that now. Well, that's pretty much it. Today, got a bunch of stuff done around the house. My son was talking to me about going over to Spokane, where he was born, and taking my grandson over and showing the house that we lived in at that time and where we moved around in Spokane. And boy, I didn't have any of those records. So I went sniffing around the house, and I found, I don't know how I ended up with it, is a publication of like a little soft-covered book that's about 8.5 by 11. And it had all kinds of stuff inside it with birth announcements, locations, addresses, all the first things a child does, you know, the first time they open their mouth, the first time they open their eyes, the first time, you know, their weight by the week. Anyway, this thing was a pretty good diary that went on for about 3 years. Somehow I ended up with it, so that was kind of interesting. Then we had moved to another house where my daughter was born, and I had no recollection of what that address was. I knew what the street was, but I didn't have the address. So I went rummaging through my desk, and I found an old wallet, a folding wallet, and inside it was a carry permit for a weapon, and it happened to have my address on it, so I was able to retrieve that. So it's kind of interesting, you know, hanging on to documents for years and years and years. You think, well, why did I do that? But I guess it was for this one occasion. So my son is coming by tomorrow to pick that stuff up and go over to Spokane, eastern Washington, I think midweek. So anyway, you'll have that information. He was able to Google the two addresses and see that the houses were still standing. It was the third house that had been turned into an apartment complex. So anyway, it's kind of interesting. Google Maps, and you get an address, and you can go chasing things down. So that's what I got to enter into here. So let's move up to Ron, 87 QKU.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dave. It's been kind of interesting listening to everyone talk tonight. Did I say KD7QKU? I can't remember. And Jim, N7QO, maybe you could tell us a little bit about where you stayed and what you ate, and how you liked the food, and maybe even some of the things you saw. And I can imagine what Gary saw. I've seen a few programs on TV. I saw a program on TV once where a guy was working in an office and their electricity failed. And so this one guy that worked there said, "Oh, I have a friend that's an electrician. I'll call him. He can come over and get us going again." And then it showed the power lines outside. Oh my goodness, it was you just can't believe the mess of the stuff. And the guy ran like an extension cord in, hooked them all up and got them all going. But wow, I kind of think that's what Gary thought, some of that stuff. Let's see, what else was I going to say? I was going to say something else. That poor guy that fell off. That Diamond Point Airport up there and the houses and stuff, they're real nice airport. And when you go up the airport, it kind of makes a left turn. It's not really the airport that makes a left turn, but a road makes a left turn. And there's a bunch of houses over in there, and everybody has their planes in their hangars at their houses over there, which I didn't know until the last couple of times we've been up there and we drove around. And they must taxi them up the road. I don't know if it's a county road or if it's a private road, but I guess they all can bring their airplanes from their house up the road to the airport, which is kind of neat. So there's a lot more hangars and a lot more people that have airplanes there than it looks. When you just see the houses around the airport, there's some over on the, what would it be, southwest corner. So anyway, they were building a few more new homes up there. But a pretty nice place. Too bad. Guy just probably starting his retirement stay with 63 or 65. And then he fell off. Gee, many Christmas. Sad. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Lee, and maybe he's got some more words of wisdom for us. And, you know, it's amazing. Lee's picture that I transmit is better than my picture. My camera isn't as good as the computer. I have a much better picture on my monitor, and I have a much better picture coming back on one.
Let's see, am I on? I think the repeater timed out on you, Ron. I think we lost the repeater.
I can hear you on echo wing.
Okay, I got it. I know what happened. The battery ran down on my wireless headset here to the computer, and so actually I'm not hearing myself on Echo Link either. Ron, am I on the air? Okay, Ron says I'm on. All right, well, I'll just go ahead and take it for a little bit, and then I'll get my headset plugged into the charger here. I think the cord's going up. I can do that. Yeah, thank you. Good show on your grand stream. That'd be fun. To be honest, Rob set mine up. That was some time ago when I was in Seattle and so forth. And ever since I've been over here, I I don't believe it's worked. There was something changed, and he was going to take care of it. But you know, you can put that thing in remote and allow him to do it in remote. And he reported initially when he was working with, I bought two of them. One of them for up at the repeater, and then one of them at my place. So the one that's up there at the repeater is the one that I bought. It's receiving the digital stuff. Anyway, he set them both up, and then Bob got one, and they set that up too. Okay. I see I'm about out of time, and so I guess I'll send it back to that, and then I'm going to, the other thing is I'm not hearing myself come back on, well, maybe I shouldn't on Equinix. Oh, well, never mind. N7KC lead, Port Angeles, third party courtesy of Equinix presently. So back to that, Dave. Good.
N7KC lead, and thanks to Ron, 87CKU, for piggybacking your video image over to the net. Let's go to James, WW7ATS.
Okay, thank you there, Dave. This is let me finish the thing on the radio stations in Seattle. The World Radio Map. The thing I found interesting here is if you go down, page down, scroll far enough down, at least for the Seattle site, you go past all these commercial radio stations, and then they got photographs here of Capitol Hill Towers, and then Cougar Mountain, and then Tiger Mountain. And I just found it was kind of interesting to look at some of these pictures. And I don't know if this is going to show or not here, but does that look familiar to anybody there? It looks cell phone. I don't know if that's the big, huge KJR antenna or which one that is. But anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. So that was that. The other thing I found I stumbled into in some research work is I didn't know this, but we've all seen this kind of famous footage, I think, where the Apollo is launching and you see a fairing separation, and so that's, a picture of the upper stage as the fairing, the big cylindrical piece that attaches the two stages drops away. And I was kind of wondered, how did they get that footage? Because this was the 1960s. Did they have enough bandwidth? And that's really high resolution, even if it was. And it turns out, no, those are actually web film cameras that they dumped over the side on little parachutes and recovered them, which I think is absolutely amazing. And the reason I bring that up is I had some other footage. Right here, this is a more recent piece of footage of a WGS-10 launch. And this, though, years later, now they can get it real time, transmitted on down. But if you have stopped the footage, if you look on the right-hand side, there's a curly cord right here between the two different parts of the satellite. I have no idea what that curly cord does, but I just thought that was interesting that, just to show that to you again. The payload is separating from the rocket, and you can actually see as it moves forward, as the satellite deploys, there is a curly cord that comes out on the right-hand side. I thought that was kind of cool. And I'm now lost here where I am. Oh, there it is. Okay. But there it is again. And if anybody knows why the curly cord is attached, I'd be interested in knowing what the answer to that is.
Timeout.
WU7N, you timed out. I think it's recycled.
Okay, I got most of that before I got timed out. Back to you, Dave.
Connected N7KC.
Okay, we have both WU7N reconnected and N7KC. Lee has been reconnected. So let's go to Gary, K7HYB.
KD7ZYM, K7HYB. Yeah, I'm looking at the stream only now. I wanted to see what James had to put on there and see how it might be relevant to me. That's all very interesting, I like to cruise some of those sites too myself. Let me get that's the wrong camera. There's a better camera. I don't know if it's any better or not. It's pretty scary. But my antenna probably must have moved, so the signal quality has gone down the tube a little bit. Or it could be just the weather. It does tend to do that around here. One of these days when I get rich and famous, I'll move my antennas up on a 100-foot tower. Then I won't have any problems. But right now it's sitting. It's about 6 feet off the ground, so that's about as high as it's going to go for a while. Anyway, yeah, you can't. There's no comparison between what we're used to in this country.
We lost you, Gary. I don't know if you timed out or what.
Are you getting me now?
Yeah, the last thing we did, yes.
Oh, that's odd. Well, look, I was looking at my handy-talkie and it's telling me I'm transmitting. Huh. Maybe it's thermally out. I don't know. But, yeah, I went by a building, one of the buildings down there, and of course, they all look like if they had even a magnitude 2 earthquake, that they would all come tumbling down. Their building codes are no codes at all. And their electricity is the same way. One of the buildings had about a dozen meter boxes on it. And there were no meters in the boxes. They were all bypassed. So apparently nobody pays any power. They don't pick up the garbage. I wouldn't want to live in that stuff. Anyway, so when I got a little more time, I'll talk about it in detail. I would be interested to see what Jim was doing there, coming to Jim, and talk about his trip to Israel a little bit. That would be really interesting. And of course, I'm always interested. I'm really interested in somebody can give me a hand getting this streaming device programmed and working. I can't get it to talk to my computer. I don't know why. It sees it, but it won't bring up the setup menu. Anyway, I've got some other things, but I wasted enough time right now. Back to you, Dave. K7ZYM, K7HYB.
K7HYB, this is KD7ZYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. Moving down the list, we come to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO. Let's see. That airport, I have been to that airport Yeah, there are some nice houses right alongside the runway, and it does look like there are some other hangars and whatnot, which are sort of across the street from there. I think that the street is pretty much for local use only, and it seems like there was some sort of sign cautioning people about aircraft. I think it is required to taxi airplanes on at least one of the roads there under certain circumstances. But yeah, nice little place, kind of small. I like that airport in Port Angeles. That's a nice airport. But anyway, let's see. Oh, Israel. I'll have to get a list of all of the places we've been and try to come up with that, put them in some semblance of order. We spent several nights in, there's a picture of something. Yeah, I'm trying to transmit, but it's not working. Oh, that's the idea. Well, not really the idea, but anyway. So we spent several nights in Nazareth, and most of the time in a hotel in Bethlehem, and we went to the major, of course we flew in and out of Tel Aviv, and then spent time driving around to and from all of the different sites and places. Sea of Galilee, went on a boat ride in the Sea of Galilee, went to the Dead Sea. Some of the people attempted to swim in the Dead Sea. I did not. Let's see. Church of the Nativity and all of the usual places. A number of places we had a long wait. The Church of the Nativity seems like we had to wait about 2.5 hours to get into there. And that was, I don't know, they rushed us through there due to the volume of people. But also it's Lent, so I may have timed out here. Let me reset. Well, maybe I didn't time it out. Okay. Where else can I mention? We wound up, we were supposed to go, after we were there for a little while, you may remember some attack on a mosque in New Zealand, I think it was. And so some people didn't like that, and they launched a couple of rockets in the direction of Tel Aviv. We were there, and then we were there, and there were some shootings in Bethlehem, and then someone launched some rockets somewhere else. So, I don't know, things got a little hectic while we were there, but not too bad. We were supposed to go to Hebron, but we didn't make it there because people were attacking tourists who went there. Apparently they were unhappy with attacks in New Zealand. So instead of going there, we went to Masada, which was one of King Herod's fortresses up on a mountaintop. That was pretty cool. Not a religious site. I would call it a tourist attraction, but not a religious site. But worth seeing anyway. I'll try to get a list of every place we went and the order in which we went there, and maybe go over that next net. Let's see. Well, it's about 5 minutes before the hour.
I'll turn it back to you for now, Dave, and 7QO.
N7QO. Boy, it sounds like a fantastic itinerary. You got a chance to really visit a lot of history in a 2-week period of time. And luckily you came back in one piece and didn't have any problems with being a tourist being attacked over there. So, let's go up to Ron, 87 QKU.
Okay, this is Ron, KD7QKU. Well, that was fascinating, Jim, and it was fascinating too, Gary. It's always fun to hear about those places. I'm always interested in them. See them on TV sometimes, but it's not like being there. I will say that we changed everything over. I got everything all changed over to Washington Mutual, and I have the first, statement from them, I guess. And I finally got checks and deposit slips, and I was able to go down and deposit of the checks, some of the checks I've been holding. I had about 4 or 5 checks, dues that I had not deposited in the ECU because I had so much trouble with them, and I wanted to put them in the Washington Federal, and it seemed like it had taken us forever to get that account open, but we finally got it. I got everything deposited, so all your checks should be going through pretty soon. So if I held you up, I'm sorry. It seemed like it had taken a long time, but I'm glad that's all done and taken care of now. And from now on, I hope it'll be easier than it was at the ECU. What else was I got? Oh, Grand Stream, yeah. That's a good idea, Gary. I'm glad you got a Grand Stream, and maybe Bob or maybe Rob can help you with it and get it set up. I don't know if Jim would consider doing something like that or not. And then there's Richard over in Kent. I think he'd be a good candidate for a Grand Stream too. So if you get yours going, Gary, and it works good and everything, maybe we can get a couple other people to get on. He's a fun guy. In fact, let me let it drop. Richard, K7ITX. I thought maybe he'd be on tonight. He sent me a text message, and then he sent me an email tonight. He's going to have dinner, I think, tomorrow sometime, with a pilot that's a Blue Angel. And apparently he's up on Whidbey Island. And he's, I think he said, he's the husband of his wife's cousin. I think that's what he said. So anyway, he's all excited. He's all excited about that. So I'm sure that I'll hear more about that. So he sent me a picture of the guy, and he's by his airplane. Looks like a kind of a cool guy. All right, let's go over to Mr. Lee before we finish out here. And 73s, everybody.
Okay, it's Lee in Port Angeles again, in 7KC. Okay, really good. Well, very interesting that. I've been watching the Stats for Nerds here on the YouTube stream, and when Gary, the thing was keeping up with Gary, the connection speed this was an astonishing 10 megabits per second, and the latency was low, and it was keeping up with the codec was working fine on the noise that Gary had, and you could see smooth motion. But every time now that it gets back to Ron or something that's got a super duper signal up there, on Ron it was 5 megabits per second, and then while Jim, Covington Jim was talking, it dropped down to like 178 kilobits per second, and there wasn't even any video being transmitted. So very, very strange. And it was working kind of reverse in what you would think. Okay, yeah, 7-3s, guys, great net. I'll get off of here. I look forward to maybe seeing you next Wednesday. So this is N7 KC Lee in Port Angeles, third party, VDC Echo Link, and Skype with KD7QKU. Back to net. Good.
Thanks with that. We'll move right along here as we're running out of time. Go to James, WU7N.
Yes, it was a good net tonight. By the way, I didn't send my condolences up to Lee. I hope the gentleman who passed away, I don't know how close you were to him, but I meant to say that. 73s, everybody, and a good net. Hope to see you and hear you on Wednesday.
WU7N, thanks for that. Let's go to Gary, K7HYB.
Well, I guess that's it. K7ZYM in the group, K7HYB. And good night, all. I'll get out and move my antenna, see if I can't get a little bit of signal into the repeater on Wednesday night. And I'll have some more stories. I'd still like to hear some more about Israel and the trip, and I'll tell you a little bit more about on my deal. And I would like to get some feedback from somebody on this grand stream so I can get it going. Then I can start showing some decent pictures. Anyway, good night all. KD7ZYM, K7HYB 73.
Thanks for that, Gary. K7HYB. Let's go to Jim, M7QO for a final.
Thank you, Dave. Good night, all. Thanks for participating. Catch you Wednesday, N7QO.
Well, thank you all, Ron, Lee, James, Gary, Jim, and I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. I'd like to thank the owners and operators of the 08 machine, the SeaTac Repeater Group, for allowing us to utilize it for our voice channel for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net that's held on Saturdays and Wednesdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. So for that, we'll terminate the net at 21:02. This is Dave, KD7ZYM. Good evening, all.
N7KC disconnected. WU7N disconnected.